Hello, everyone, and welcome online. My name is Benjamin Debucher, and I'm the head of events content for JEC Group. Thank you for joining us today. Today's webinar is Innovative 4.0 training dedicated to the transformation processes of thermoset and thermoplastic composites. During this webinar, you will discover the innovative and cognitive 4.0 concept of the e-learning Composites Academy training, specially developed by the startup Composites Expert. It's a new pedagogical approach aimed at appropriating knowledge of polymer transformation in order to understand the learning and mastery of thermoset and thermoplastic materials in a simple and structured way. Tools have been designed to combine the theoretical part and the practical part to observe complex phenomena with the aim of mastering and optimizing transformation processes. The webinar will introduce you to the learning method and the interactivity of the teaching aids used in industry and education. We will be hearing from Aurecia Cauchois, Training Director of the e-learning Composites Academy. After 25 years in management position within the Louvre Hotels Group, she joined Composites Expert in 2019 to take up the position of training director and to assume the administrative, commercial, and managerial function of the e-learning Composites Academy. We will be also talking to Jean-Pierre Cauchois, CEO of Composites Experts. Plastic engineer, Jean-Pierre was director of a technical center for more than 30 years and has carried out more than 600 technology transfers through the world, specializing in the transformation processes of composite materials. He is the author of several technical books and expert software. He launched the startup Composites Expert in 2019 with its commercial brands e-learning Composites Academy. And last but not least, we will be hearing from Michel Glotin, scientific advisor for materials at Arkema and chairman of the Excellence Committee of Composites Academy. After an international scientific cursus, Michel joined Arkema in 1982 and held successive positions as researcher on high-performance polymer, head of the Materials Research Laboratory in Arkema's Specialty Polymers Research Center, then Director Material Science until 2019, and is now Advisor of Material Science. In recent years, his interest has focused on the recyclability of composite materials in all fields. A quick reminder for the audience before we start. As usual, we will be taking questions at the end of the webinar. So you can ask your question in the question tab here at the bottom right of the screen. You can start ask your question from the beginning as the question comes to your mind. And you have, as usual, the possibility to upvote the questions from other participants if you find it interesting. To have a better experience of the webinar, I recommend, as usual, to be connected through cable wire rather than Wi-Fi. But in any case, the webinar is being recorded, so you will be able to view the entire program later on gccomposites.tv. Also, one last thing, at some point, we will publish 2 polls questions during the webinar that I invite you to answer in the poll section at the bottom right, just next to the question tab. And we can maybe start now with the first question, which is really easy. Do you know about e-learning Composite Academy? So I just published the vote. So again, you can go in the poll section and answer by yes or no if you know the e-learning Composites Academy. Okay, so now it's time to discover a unique form of learning, highlighting cutting-edge technologies. So enjoy the webinar.
Hello everyone. First of all, I would like to thank JEC World for giving us the opportunity to present our 4.0 training concept, and thank you all for attending this event. During this webinar, we are going to speak about an innovative training course about the processing of composite materials. The idea to create this training course comes out of my 40+ years of experience in technological transfers that I have successfully carried out for companies throughout the world. Composite materials are constantly evolving and require comprehensive learning to keep pace with their evolution. The value of a company comes from its people and its technological capacity. The Composites Academy's objective is to offer an innovative training concept that is perfectly adapted to the composite trades and fields and to understand complex physical phenomena in a simple way. Our teams of designers, programmers, instructors, and developers have created interactive courses and tools enriched with animations, practical exercises, and personalized follow-ups. Supported by a committee of excellence made up of specialists in the field coming from industry, teaching, and research who all play an active role in the success of our project. Aurecie and Michel join me to reveal the content of this innovative form of learning.
Hello everyone! I will now address the training and its 4.0 spirit by briefly describing the pedagogic tools, levels, and learning paths. We have developed a pedagogy that is as efficient and cognitive as possible. Our courses are accessible for everyone, from anywhere and at any time. Thanks to our online courses and their educational organization in 3 levels, the learner progresses in his training without frustrations. Through an alternance of courses and instructive quizzes, our programs allow to learn without ever getting bored. An expert tutor, always a specialist in composites, accompanies the learner all along his training, answers all his questions, and makes sure he's in a favorable situation for success. A final assessment is carried out to formally validate all the knowledge acquisition. The tutor makes sure that the learner is ready for the final assessment test. Certificate of achievement is delivered to successful candidates. Lessons, exercise, and tools have been developed specifically to facilitate understanding of a course. Our supporting media are extensively illustrated with diagrams, photo, 2D or 3D animation, and they include voiceovers. The learner is required to perform small interactive action to access the information. This allows him to freely choose his learning rate. We believe our courses are fun to follow for the learner and that our methods make us very different from the other courses that already exist. In addition to the online courses, our teaching teams offers a software that includes process simulations, databases, and calculation tools. As in a serious game, the learner can virtually practice manufacturing parts using the process simulation tools provided with the course. The objective in providing materials, databases, and calculation tools is to allow the user to learn how to make the right choice of materials and processing parameters for the production of a part. All other softwares and simulators have been specifically developed by the Composite Expert teams for the Composite Academy programs. They have been validated in real application cases in collaboration with composite part manufacturers. Access to our training platform is simple, fast, and secured, without constraints of place or time for the company as for the learner. All that is needed is an internet connection. Our toolkits for practical experiments complement our online courses. The first kit contains all the equipment for the experiments related to the M fusion and RGM processes. The optional kit is dedicated to companies, school or training centers that lack the required equipment. This kit provides a mini laboratory with all the tools necessary to run the practical exercise required in parallel with the course. Box 3 contains a small hot press and a sample library with an exercise pack. This box is dedicated to the Thermoplastic composite course.
To get to the heart of our training courses, let us take as an example the training course dedicated to Thermoset composites, which is made up of 2 parts. The first part is devoted to the generalities about composite materials. It provides a basic but broad knowledge of the composites business. 17 processing technologies used in aeronautics or marine industries are considered in this introduction, including light RTM, infusion, automated placement, and pre-pegging. The second part, which deals with specialized technologies such as RTM and infusion, is divided by market and is provided at 3 levels: initiation, intermediate, and advanced. In our courses, the application examples are all based on real-life experiences. Let's take the example of the manufacturing of a carbon box for aeronautics. We start from the specifications and go all the way to the industrial production. The different stages of the course deal with the description of the part, the process choice, the permeability measurement, and the simulation. Each project is defined in the same way with the same reasoning and the same approach. Let's take as an example a carbon epoxy composite box. We start from the specifications. Choosing the process. The software created specifically for our training courses accompanies the learner and enables them to justify the choice of the best process in terms of technical performance of the part versus the specifications and in terms of economics. The permeability measurement is carried out by using the reinforcing fabrics provided in the box, but can also be performed for any type of reinforcement. The permeability and viscosity values are then fed into the Composites Expert software and used to predict the key processing times and resin flows during the virtual part manufacturing. The glass transition is discussed in the course to ensure a good understanding of the physical phenomena related to this transition. The viscosity is a key factor that influences the resin flow through the reinforcement. An ISO viscosity cup is provided in our Box 1 toolkit so that experimental values can be determined. Process simulation is integrated into our courses, and the proprietary software that is provided allows to determine the resin injection time, the injection speed, and the best injection strategies in a simple, fast, and efficient way. The speed of the hydrodynamic front is also a very important parameter. It must be controlled to avoid creating porosities. So this measurement is key for the optimization of the part quality and the economics. We also discuss the concepts of tooling, taking into account such phenomena as the mold thermal expansion related to the polymerization temperature of the resins. The whole course on Thermoset composites tackles the 6 infusion technologies with concrete case studies and the 6 RTM technologies with the same approach.
Hello everyone. Let me now introduce you to the Thermoplastic Composites training. This training is divided into 3 parts. The first is dedicated to the generalities of composite materials and is identical to that we use for thermosets. The second part is divided into 3 levels: initiation, intermediate, and advanced, and deals with introduction to thermoplastic polymers. The objective of this course is to understand the physical phenomena that take place during the processing of thermoplastic composites. The last part concerns the processing technologies as they are used for the manufacturing of thermoplastic composite parts. To facilitate the understanding, we have established a graphic representation of the polymer chemical composition. It is a virtual version of the molecular models that some of you may have seen in chemistry classes. The aim of this approach is to be able to represent the mobility that develops in a polymer molecule under the effect of temperature. Let's take PPS as an example. The chain combines aromatic rings linked to sulfur atoms. As you can see, the sulfur atom rotates under the effect of temperature. But in a PPS chain, this simple rotation is capable of generating movements of the whole chain. With this type of representation, we can illustrate all the basic physical phenomena that are important. At glass transition temperature, Tg, you will see that the polymer chains become mobile only in the amorphous zones of the polymer. The polymer parts inside crystalline zones remain unaffected. Upon melting, crystalline lamellae disappear and the whole chain becomes mobile. When cooling from the melt state, crystallization occurs. All these representations and illustrations allow us to spotlight all the physical phenomena that take place in a polymer, and all the parameters that influence the thermal transitions and the resulting morphology changes are described in our course. Specific tools have been developed to guide the learner in choosing the best polymer matrix for a given application. Let's take the example of PPS compared to polyamide 12. The practical exercises that come with this course, using box 3 with a sample library, are designed to easily relate what happens during the processing of a thermoplastic composite and what physically takes place in a polymer at the molecular scale. The processing technologies are presented in a structured way, starting from the specifications of the part to be produced, all the way to its non-destructive testing. For each step of the process, the key parameters are illustrated and explained. The simulation tool allows the learner to project himself in a serious game and process the thermoplastic composites of each choice. In this pedagogic approach, the virtual tool is a guide that ensures that the correct parameters are chosen for the processing, the right temperatures, times, and speeds. As a bonus, this tool can be used in your plant with your own materials and your own parts.
In the near future, Composites Academy will not limit itself to training. It has already designed and built, with the support of its Committee of Excellence, a face-to-face examination enabling participants to obtain a certification and be recognized internationally by the profession. This certification is independent of the training course. The TOCT, Test of Composite Technical Evaluation, aims to become the professional reference in the world of composites. The certification will be available in 3 levels: initiation, intermediate, and advanced, and in the 2 technological families, Thermoplastics and Thermoset.
We hope hope that through this webinar, you have been able to get a good idea about the highly innovative teaching offered by Composite Expert. Clearly, it has been designed to meet the training needs of personnel at all levels in companies already active in composites or companies wishing to enter this field. All the members of the Committee of Excellence, which I chair, whether they are managers in major industrial groups, in SMEs, in technical centers, or personalities from the academic world, we all recognize the relevance and the scientific and technical rigor of the course contents offered by the Composites Academy. We also think that this new training method is a wonderful tool for technical and engineering schools that are training the workforce needed to accompany the growth of the composites business. So don't hesitate to contact us to learn more about Composite Academy. We thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Aurecia, Jean-Pierre, and Michel, for this presentation. I'm going to ask you to come back on stage. Just give me a couple of seconds to do so. Michel should appear soon. And so Michel is back on stage. And Pierre and Aurecia should be come back really soon. Here they are. Perfect. So thank you again very much for this great presentation. I think it was really insightful and give a good flavor of what Composites Academy is. So it's now time to open the floor to questions, and I see that we have one in the chat section, but we don't have yet in the question tab. So don't be shy. Again, it's time for you to ask any question you have for Jean-Pierre, Aurecia, and Michel. So please ask your question in the question tab at the bottom right of the screen. So while we wait to receive a few more questions, I have some questions myself that I would like to ask you. The first one is for Jean-Pierre. I would like to know what is the importance of permeability in the RTM and infusion course?
Okay. Okay, it's a very good question, Benjamin. Because a good understanding of permeability is key for infusion and RTM technologies. I plays a major role about productivity and for the part cost. It's very important.
Thank you, Jean-Pierre. I have another question. Who is your training for exactly? What kind of profile do you target for the training?
Okay, so I answer. The trainings are aimed at companies, industrialists, engineering schools, and design and methods office, the production teams, training centers, and all players in the field. But also for companies wishing to diversify into composites, and job seeker, or anyone undergoing retraining.
Okay, thank you, Aurecia. I have another question that I think that also other participants have is how much does it cost?
Okay. So it depends really of the levels who are chosen, because our training courses are divided into three levels. And the more you progress in the levels, the richer the contents are by evolving in the levels. Composite Academy also proposes tools which, according to the courses, can be optional or not. For example, if we take a company which wishes to train a collaborator with RTM and infusion level 3, his learning path will be made up with HSE module, the generality of materials, which is a good reminder useful to all, and when the RTM and infusion module. Is an order magnitude, you can consider a price of 600 € for the first level with the license and 1,600 € for the level 3, which including the box and the software. So this price are for Europa, and we know that we must adapt ourselves for most of those countries.
Okay, thank you, Oresia. We have a question from Jana Novotná from the University of Liberec, which is an addition to my question. She's asking, are these courses free for academics?
No, they are not free for academics, but we have created special rates. We have rates for industrials and we have rates for academics because we know that academics haven't need some cost, but with a lower price. But it depends of their engagement, and it depends of number of learners we have.
Okay, I see. Thank you. Let's take maybe one question from Stephen Lamorinière that we received. He's asking, once the course is finished, do you still have access to the platform and to the courses?
No. When the course is finished, you can record upload of files with a summary of the course you followed, but the connection times is depend of the levels and of the course.
Okay. Let's move to another question, a question from myself. We saw in the presentation that you are Calliope certified. What is the point of this? What does it mean?
It's more for a French business, but it's a beautiful French certification that recognizes Composite Academy as a quality training organization with processes in place to support the learner and the company throughout the training processes. And Calliope distinguishes us from the other training centers that do not have it.
Thank you, Oresia. Let's take another questions from Stephen Lamorinière. Thank you, Stephen, for all your questions. And again, I remind the audience that you can start asking your question in the question tab at the bottom right, if you have any. So the question from Stephen is, which languages are available for the courses?
So for the moment, we have the French and English version, and soon Spanish. We developed certainly Portuguese and German, and for the moment we can propose the course in English and French, and soon in Spanish.
Okay, good. And Stephen is asking also, do the courses have any accreditation? For example, CPD points or equivalent?
Not for the moment, because as you see in the video, we work about TOCT, Test of Composite Technical Evaluation, and we deposit a file next to France Compétences to build something very, very good about the certification. But for the moment, not. If we had the certification, so it will be taken charge by the credit point. Yes.
Thank you. Let's move to another question that I have. What makes you different from other courses?
Okay, so I answer too. So, first of all, we have the first platform dedicated to the transformation of thermoset and thermoplastic composite materials. And our courses are innovative because they are not a simple e-learning courses, but with all a cognitive and resolutely modern. The learner will be able to learn thanks for the theory provided in e-learning and handle the materials in practical exercise while being monitored by a tutor, an expert in the field, which prevents the learners from dropping out and encourages him to successfully complete the training. We have had excellent feedback from the first learners. The courses were developed with experts who contributed their knowledge with and validated the content before they are released. And in addition, for the company, it's possible to create a tutor profile, which be the supervisor of a business group, and enabling him or her to monitor the progress and develop of the team. So as you can see, this is an hybrid concept that sets us apart from other e-learning courses.
Thank you, Aurelia. We received a question from Alexandre Mathieu. Thank you, Alexandre, for your question. Alexandre is asking, do we get to keep some supports like PDF or PPT at the end of the course?
Yes. Yes, you have. You can get a summary of all trainings.
Good.
And you can charge it and print it.
Thanks, Aurelia. We don't have any more questions. If you have a question, it's time to ask it, maybe in the chat. Okay, we have a good feedback from Marina, who has no question, but she tested the courses and it was a great experience for her. It's really innovative with software and lot of practical exercise. Even if she's not a composite expert, she really enjoyed to learn more and more on the topic. So this is a great feedback, I think.
Yes, thank you, Marina.
I see that someone is typing a question. Let's see. Just waiting. So yeah, just to complete. So far you have very good feedback from learners so far, like Marina just mentioned.
Yes, and we have a few feedback from the other learners we had. So they are good and complementary, whether they are operators, technicians, engineers, design and methods office, company managers, and human resource director. They are unanimous on the quality of the material and contents, the relevance of the tool adapted to each module. All, without exception, have gained in understanding, in vocabulary, it's very important, and have increased their skills. For those who have followed the training course concerning Thermoset, they want now following the thermoplastic.
We have another question from Aviv Levy, who would like to know a bit more about the practical aspects of the course. He's asking, are they involving practical exercise with the kids? And also, is there any online meetings for questions and exercises?
Okay. Michel, you will complete my my answer if you want, but
Yes, I can answer if you want for the practical exercises. In fact, yes, of course, there are practical exercises. So during the presentation, you have seen what is called boxes. Okay, so each box is dedicated to a specific task, but in fact, there are practical exercises. So as you acquire these boxes, so there are two boxes that are dedicated to thermosets, and one is a mini lab for people who wouldn't have internally any equipment. So you are really independent, if you want, and able to do all the exercises that are recommended in the course. And by the way, it's necessary to run the exercises, okay, to really learn fully and benefit fully from the course. Okay, so the first two boxes are for thermosets, and you may have seen that you run experiments measuring permeabilities and so on, calculating filling times for parts and so on. So many exercises. For thermoplastics, you have seen that box 3 is providing a small press which allows you to run experiments. Like, for example, you can, of course, understand how the thermostamping is done under which conditions of pressure and temperature. Okay, you can also some exercises lead you to making actual sandwich structures. Okay, with cores and two composite sheets on each surface. Okay, so really it's practical, and yes, indeed, you can you get a good feeling of practice. So all the samples also are provided to run the experiments. Okay, so it's really a way to have autonomous practical exercises.
Thank you, Michel. We lost Jean-Pierre, but I'm sure he will be back on stage in a few seconds. I have a last question myself that I would like to ask you, Michel. You are the chairman of the Excellence Committee of the Composites Academy.
Yes.
Who are the other members of the Excellence Committee?
Okay, so you find we are about 30 people now in the Excellence Committee. So we find some university professors. Okay, some of them are well known in the field of composites. Okay, so we have about 3 university professors. We have also managers from technical centers. Okay, like Institut Soudure, like IRT, so the French Research Technology Institutes. Okay, but most of our members are from industry. So in fact, most of them are like me, related to R&D activities in large groups. Okay, so you have companies like Stelia, Safran, so in the aeronautics. Okay, but also other fields of activity. You have Daher. You have so many industries are represented from the aeronautics domain. Okay. Also, we have material supplier. Okay, so like people providing fibers or fabrics, like for example Chomara or these okay, and we have SMEs, machine manufacturers. Okay, so really we are covering very broadly the field of composites from SME, large industry, various application domains. And also university professors and so on. So clearly, we make sure that what we provide as a training is really extremely pertinent and always, I can tell you, very carefully validated in terms of scientific approach. Okay.
Okay, we have a very last question that I think you can answer, Michel, because we still have some problem reaching to Jean-Pierre.
Okay.
It's a question from Edin Goul, who is a chemical engineer graduate, who is trying to direct himself into polymer and composite field. And he's asking, would just a chemical engineering educational background provide enough knowledge to benefit from the course?
Oh yes, it's plenty enough. Okay. In fact, when we start the course, the idea is that we do not consider any prerequisite knowledge. Okay. So normally you can start with almost zero knowledge. Of course, a bit of technical background, but the idea is that people, for example, on the plant floors, okay, operators in plants, okay, can progress. Of course, they probably will not need or not be able to follow the level 3 courses, okay. But level 1 is for them. So any newcomer, not knowing anything about composites, is able to start from level 1, okay, then move to level 2, and if really motivated, move to level 3. For me, level 1 is really for beginners, and true beginners. You don't need to be a chemical engineer, okay, to start level 1 or even level 2, okay. Of course, if you are already active in composites, probably you can start. I mean, you will go very fast through level 1 and 2, and then go to spend a lot more time on level 3. Okay, so everything is possible, but clearly, any initial knowledge can serve as a base for the course. That's the idea. We want people to be able to start from nothing. Okay. And I encourage you to first. I'm glad that the chemical engineer wishes to come to composites. It's always a good point. But really, don't worry. It's really built for newcomers as well as people who are already experienced.
Okay, thank you, Michel. We have a great feedback from Patricia Krasvak at IMT Lille-Douai, with congratulate you and Composite Academy for this initiative. It's a very pragmatic approach, combining solid theoretical basis with relevant experience, and sharing a unique industrial experience with the learner. So she highly recommends it, and it's good to have such feedback from a professor in composite engineering and manufacturing.
Yes, I know. Okay, thank you very much, Patricia.
That's great. So we have now come to the end of this event, but before leaving, I would like to publish the second and last poll of this webinar with a really simple question again. Does this presentation makes you want to train yourself or your employees with this learning concept? So again, the answer is easy. It's yes or no. And so just for your information, Michel, so most of the audience didn't know about e-learning Composites Academy at the beginning. 60% of the audience answered no. And so far, if they were convinced and want to train themselves or their employee with this learning concept, for the moment we have 100% yes. With the audience wishing to participate. So that's a good feedback. If you are interested, so for the audience, Composites Academy will host 2 training sessions during GEC World 2022. So one in French on the first day of GEC World on May 3rd from 10:30 to noon in the VIP club. And they will host a second training session, but this time in English on the second day of GEC World, so on May 4th, still from 10:30 to noon and still in the VIP club. And at last, they will also host a session presenting Composites Academy more in depth in the Agora 6, which is the conference room, located in Hall 6 of GEC World. And so the session will be held on the last day, on May 5th, from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. And the session will welcome the members of the Excellence Committee that Michel talked about earlier. Thank you again, everyone, for joining us today, and thanks for your questions. If you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out to Aurécia, Jean-Pierre, or Michel. I also want to thank Aurécia, Jean-Pierre, and Michel, and all the team at Composites Expert for this webinar today. So thank you very much. The webinar was recorded, as I mentioned in the introduction, and the link will be sent to you immediately right now. It will be also available in few hours on the JEC Group Web TV at gecomposites.tv, where you can also access to all previous webinars, video contents, and conferences of JEC Group events. On myself, I look forward to welcoming you during our next webinar next month on April 14th, a webinar organized with AirTech. You can find more information about this next webinar soon and register for free by visiting gecomposites.com. Thank you again very much to everybody, and we hope to see you again soon on a webinar or at GEC World. Thank you, Michel.
Thank you, and goodbye, everyone.
Bye-bye,
See
everybody.
you at JEC World. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.